In my previous life, my father elevated his illegitimate son to the status of a top celebrity. My mother was slandered as a mistress and died of a heart attack in despair. I had my legs broken by the illegitimate son, was thrown onto the streets, humiliated by beggars, and died with deep resentment. On my 18th birthday, I was reborn. Everything was pitch black, with only the flickering light from the candles on the cake. Linger, why are you spacing out? It's time to make a wish, Mom gently patted me, her face beaming with a blissful smile. Seeing my mother alive and well, tears welled up in my eyes. This year, whatever wish my precious daughter wants to make, Daddy will make it come true. Dad looked at me with doting eyes, thinking I would wish for the family's happiness and joy as I always had before. Unrealistic wishes had nothing to do with me from now on. Daddy, can you really fulfill any wish for me? I'm 18 now. Already an adult. I lifted my eyelids, revealing a sweet smile. Of course, whatever wish my precious daughter wants to make, Daddy will make it happen. Dad's gaze was firm. I hugged his arm and cooed, Dad, can we start an entertainment company? I'm really interested in the entertainment industry. You want to enter the entertainment circle, become a star. He suddenly raised his voice, as if noticing something unusual, then immediately softened it. Being a star is exhausting. I don't want our baby to suffer. In my past life, to promote his illegitimate son, he specifically founded a company a few years later, yet now, he's reluctant to spend money on me. I sneered inwardly, but my face grew even more enthusiastic. Of course, the daughter of the richest man should be the boss. I'll just be in charge of counting money, letting the professionals help me promote some promising stars. Last time I watched that talent show, didn't you say, Dad, that Junyoung looked promising and could become a top star in the future? Dad, how about I sign him first? Junyoung is the stage name of the illegitimate son. He looks just like his mother. In my past life, Dad kept mentioning Junyoung in front of me, and I never once doubted it. In my past life, Junyoung never really took off because of his feminine, pretty looks. Some said he lacked masculine energy, others called him effeminate. Later, Dad used his financial power to strongly promote him, creating a tailored look that changed his aura, transforming him into a top-tier star who eventually became an Oscar-winning actor. That day, he took out photos of him and his dad from childhood to adulthood, and videos of their life together were also posted on his social media account, saying he wanted to thank his father. He even added one last line: if that woman hadn't destroyed the relationship between his mom and dad, the family of three would have been happier. The implication was that my mom was the other woman. Before my mother could even explain, she was besieged by his fans, suffered a heart attack, and died in the ambulance. I still remember the look of despair and anger in my mother's eyes to this day. When my father heard that I wanted to promote Junyoung, he immediately smiled and said, whatever our precious wants to do, Daddy supports you. Junyoung has already signed with another company. How about Daddy helps you after his contract expires? Although I had anticipated this outcome, hearing it from my father still made my heart sink. Dad, Junyoung isn't famous yet, this is the best time to poach him for the highest value. I spoke to him with a serious tone. His contract still has several years left. Once it expires and he becomes a hit, everyone will be scrambling to sign him, and the signing costs will be sky high. Our newly established company won't have any advantage. If we poach him now, the penalty fee will be lower, making it the most cost-effective option. Mom, however, frowned. Old Chu, let Linger sign other celebrities first. As for the star you mentioned, if we can sign him when his contract expires, that's great. If not, we shouldn't force it. After saying this, she turned on the light. Even if we've made a wish, let's just settle on starting the company. From childhood, my parents doted on me. My mother's words were quite normal, but my father fell into deep thought. After blowing out the candles, I didn't look at my father. Instead, I said to my mother, who is cutting the cake? Mom is right too. When he becomes a top star, he'll definitely go to a bigger company that can offer him better resources. Everyone wants to move up in the world. Only after living a second life did I realize that my father was an extreme believer in favoring sons over daughters. My mother, due to her heart condition, nearly lost her life giving birth to me, and the doctor firmly forbade her from having any more children. All these years, he had been very good to us, and we had no idea he had a love child a year younger than me. Based on the timing, as soon as Dad confirmed that Mom couldn't give him a son, he immediately went out to sow his seeds elsewhere. Hearing that Junyoung might be moving to a better company, Dad's smile nearly faltered. Then I'll help you register the company in a few days. I've been busy lately, but I'll take care of it once I have time. Suppressing my discomfort, I hugged him. Thank you, Dad. Just give me the money, and leave the rest to the professionals. You should also give your daughter a Chance to learn, right? Otherwise, how will I ever manage to inherit such a vast family fortune? At the mention of me inheriting the family fortune, Dad turned his face away, his expression clearly displeased. He didn't realize that every bit of it was clearly reflected in the floor-to-ceiling window. If it weren't for the major projects that kept him tied up in recent years, Dad would have started a company to promote Junyang when he wanted to enter the entertainment industry. This was something Junyang boasted about in front of me in my past life. Although I was his daughter in name, I never received anything substantial. He always had the best of everything growing up, from what he used to what he ate. From kindergarten through middle school, I attended public schools while he went to elite private schools. The money I spent in my entire life didn't even amount to what he spent in a single semester. He said that from childhood, Dad treated him and me as differently as heaven and earth, though I knew he was just trying to provoke me out of spite. His words still cut deep. Dad said those elite schools would spoil a child. He wanted me to have good character and didn't want me to turn into a delinquent. I thought he had my best interests at heart, but it was actually a perfect lie. That very night, I saw the stark difference for myself. Dad transferred me $100 million and told me to support Junyang wholeheartedly. This kid looks promising to me, destined for the top tier. We'll rely on him to make our company famous. From start to finish, his focus was on promoting Junyang. He never once considered how I, as the boss, should be thinking about growing the company $100 million. Because of Junyang, Dad transferred it to me without hesitation. Is this still the same person who said that even if you have money, you can't spend it recklessly? It turns out that all the fatherly love I thought I had, the happiness I believed in, were all illusions. I replied with a bitter smile. Don't worry, Dad, I'm already an adult, and it's time for me to contribute to the family. I definitely won't let you down. I will definitely make you and your illegitimate child experience the despair my mother and I felt in our past life. Back in my room, I stared at the notification for the 100 million yuan deposit, unable to calm down for a long time. In my previous life, after my mother passed away, my father brought his mistress and Junyang home. He announced to the outside world, back then, he and Junyang's mother, Nan Bingru, were the true couple. My mother and he had me by accident after drinking, and my mother used her heart condition to force him to give up his true love and marry her. Now that my mother is dead, everything should return to normal. I became the illegitimate daughter. Junyang often insinuates on social media that I have improper conduct and harbor inappropriate feelings for him. My own brother, I am subjected to insults, labeled with all sorts of tags, and whenever I go out, people throw eggs at me. A photo of me, disheveled and lying on Junyang, was circulated. I was thrown out of the house. My father said I was shameless and had no sense of decency, that I had actually seduced my own brother. I didn't deserve to spend his money, so he took away all my cards and cash, leaving me penniless and with nowhere to go that night. Junyang brought a group of men in black who broke my legs and threw me to the beggars. I died with hatred in my heart. Linger, Mom's gentle voice came from the doorway. She stood at the entrance. May I come in? Mom was always so gentle and considerate. Seeing Mom's tenderness, the tears I had held back all night finally spilled uncontrollably. Seeing me shed tears, my mother anxiously walked in and hugged me. My dear, what's wrong? On such a beautiful day as your 18th birthday, why are you dropping golden tears? Tell me what's troubling you. I nestled into her chest, sobbing. Mom, I just realized I've suddenly grown up, and it makes me a little sad. What's there to be sad about? In my eyes, you'll always be a child. You can always act spoiled with me, and you can always come to me for anything. Don't worry about feeling embarrassed to turn to me just because you're an adult. My mother's voice was as gentle as ever. I hugged her and said, Mom, I'll help you find a heart donor, so you can stay with me forever, okay? She patted my back gently, just like when she used to soothe me to sleep as a child. Silly child. Your father hasn't found a match in all these years. How could it be so easy to find a suitable heart donor? Hearing this, I began to sob uncontrollably. I wanted so badly to tell my mother that a heart donor had actually been found when I was very young. Junyang told me his mother didn't want my mother to live long, so she made my father give the donor heart to someone else. After that, they never looked for another donor again. My father promised them that the first half of his life would be for us, and the second half, after my mother passed away, he would stay with them, treat everyone equally. Junyang said those things when he became the best actor just to infuriate my mother, so that their family could reunite sooner. Dad couldn't wait for my mother to die naturally. I didn't continue this topic, afraid that if I said too much, my mother would tell my father and they would notice something unusual. I could search for a heart donor for my mother privately on my own. I spent a fortune to secretly hire someone to find a suitable heart source for me, then registered a company. There are just over 2 months left before starting university, and I plan to sign Junyang before the winter break. In this life, I want to keep him under my control. My assistant quickly arranged a meeting with Junyang. No doubt my father had given him a heads up. In the coffee shop, we sat facing each other. When he saw the dress I was wearing, the muscles on his face twitched uncontrollably. This beautiful dress was a limited edition from an international luxury brand, with only one piece sold in each country, and it was Junyang's favorite brand. I bought it specifically to see him. Seeing his reaction, I knew his beliefs were beginning to waver. He knew that everything he had heard about how Dad treated me was just hearsay. How is it in reality? I can weave him a version where Dad loves me to the bone, making it stick in his throat, keeping him awake all night, making him fear being abandoned by Dad, unable to eat or sleep in peace. He is an illegitimate child who cannot see the light of day. I stir my coffee cup, my newly done manicure sparkling brightly. My assistant takes out the drafted contract. These are the terms offered by our company. Please review. He didn't bring his agent, only a rather dull-witted little assistant, who clumsily flipped through the contract. According to the contract, our company will cover all of Mr. Junyang's penalty fees during the period. When Mr. Junyang signs the contract with us, our company will provide him with a top-tier standalone villa, arrange a dedicated housekeeper to take care of his meals and accommodation, and ensure that all his living, dining, and transportation needs are met with the highest standard of arrangements. Compensation will be settled on a project basis, with payment issued on the 10th of the second month following the completion of each project. The split is 60% for Junyang and 40% for the company. During the contract period, we hope to maintain a certain image in the public eye. If Junyang causes losses to the company due to personal issues, the company will not pay any compensation and will use it to cover all economic losses incurred. The assistant finished summarizing the contract and looked at the still somewhat stunned junior assistant. Junyang was just a minor, barely known celebrity. For someone like him to receive such a contract, she felt overwhelmed. She carefully read through the contract again and again, trying to spot any hidden clauses. After searching for a long time, she looked at Junyang and said, "The contract is fine, and the terms are quite good." When she said quite good, I saw her swallow hard. Big celebrity agencies don't provide accommodation, but our company not only provides it, but also offers the most luxurious villa. I even wrote the villa's address in the contract. This was something I specifically asked my dear dad for $3 billion to buy. Yesterday, I said I wanted to buy a villa for Junyang to live in. To enhance her sense of belonging and image, I was quite vague in my explanation. Dad thought it was going to be registered under Junyang's name, so he gave it to me without hesitation, but throughout the whole process, I only said I bought it for him to live in. I never mentioned transferring the ownership to him. In my previous life, the villa was indeed registered under Junyang's name. Dad justified it as a convenient way to promote the property, a means to retain a future top-tier talent like Junyang by giving him a house, and a rational way to transfer assets to him. Junyang looked at the villa's name and address on the contract, a flicker of envy crossing his handsome face. I spoke up at just the right moment. "This is my dad's 18th birthday gift to me. I hope Mr. Junyang enjoys living here." I laughed carelessly, like a little princess who knew nothing of the world. My dad said he'd give me anything I wanted. I didn't know what to buy, so I bought this villa. These words were originally spoken by Junyang in my past life. Now, he still has nothing. Dad was thinking of giving him the family assets under more reasonable pretexts, like offering a villa as an employee benefit or paying him a high endorsement fee, so that Junyang's acquisition of assets wouldn't be criticized. To be safe, neither of them underwent a paternity test, fearing it would leave evidence of infidelity. This was the villa Junyang had been longing for years, now registered under my name. His forced smile gradually faded, eventually twisting into something distorted. Watching him doubt the father who loved him most, I was overjoyed, my smile growing even brighter. "Mr. Junyang, don't you like it? If not, we can change it. My father loves me very much. Whatever I want, he gives me. He says I'm his only little princess." I laughed carelessly. His assistant looked at him, puzzled. Such a fine house. Why wasn't he happy? Living in a place like this would be great for promoting his image later on. "Will you sign?" the assistant asked softly. "If Mr. Junyang hasn't made up his mind yet, that's fine. We can discuss it again after our company has achieved some results." I tossed an elegant business card onto the table. "We have another artist to sign today, so we won't disturb Mr. Junyang any further." The assistant didn't expect us to be signing someone else today and instinctively asked, "Who else are you signing?" "Juin," the assistant answered truthfully, hearing the name Junyang suddenly lifted his eyelids to look at me. I pretended not to notice, grabbing the latest luxury handbag and preparing to leave. Juin is currently unknown. In the future, she will become a film queen, winning numerous awards effortlessly. She has just participated in a talent show and hasn't signed with any company yet. Her appearance isn't particularly stunning, but her extraordinary acting talent, combined with makeup, has allowed her to create many classic roles in a short time. As I was leaving, I turned back to advise Junyang, the first artist to sign with our company will get to live in my 300 million villa. The first person to sign with us will be our key focus for development. My dad said Juin looks promising, and I trust my dad's judgment. After saying that, she took her assistant and left. I knew that Junyang wouldn't sign directly today, no matter what his mindset was. He wouldn't sign with me today. He detested me, although he tried hard to hide his emotions. Junyang, at 17, was ultimately not skilled enough in acting, saying my father values Juin as pure fabrication. Before, to keep me from noticing anything unusual, he would often mention more people, but aside from Junyang, he never really cared about any of them. This apartment, I only gave it to Juin to live in to spite Junyang. Of course, it was also a good opportunity to increase my own assets. If I wanted my father to spend money, I had to pretend it was for Junyang. The villa is under my name, and it will be my asset in the future. My assets don't belong to my father. Even if he dies, they won't go to any illegitimate children. Watching the two of them leave, the assistant asked Junyang, the terms offered by this company are pretty good, and they seem financially solid. Why didn't you sign? Because he was criticized as effeminate and a fake man. Junyang had no good resources at the company. Junyang didn't say a word. His beautiful face was devoid of any radiance, his brows furrowed tightly. He sent a message to the contact saved as Dad. Dad, did you arrange for me to live in this house? He took a photo of the address on the contract. The reply came quickly. How is it? Do you like it? Son, this is the best villa. I spent 300 million just so my son could live a little better. Junyang's forehead veins bulged, on the verge of an angry outburst. Letting him live in a house under another woman's name. Wasn't that just humiliating him? Remembering what Chu Jiangwen had said, that he would wait until they were officially father and son before giving him anything, he held back. For the first time, he began to doubt his father's love. His father had said that the daughter in the family hadn't cost any money, that all the money was saved for him, and that from childhood to adulthood, he was the only one who had ever spent a dime. Chu Ling's outfit today costs several million, a villa worth 3 billion. And she also has a company. He didn't dare to think about it. If this isn't love, then what is? Thinking about the 3 billion given to Chu Ling, he couldn't help but want to give her a beating, and when he thought of Chu Ling's radiant smile, it felt even more glaring to him. She's really too much of an eyesore. Another message came through over there. Son, have you signed yet? I've always wanted to start a company to promote you, but I never found the right way. Now, using Chu Ling's name, I can invest money without anyone noticing anything unusual. Son, Dad will definitely make you the most dazzling star. Although Dad says he loves him the most, he's already 17 and still doesn't have a proper father-son relationship. But he can't say that to Chu Jiangwen. He can't afford to gamble. He replied irritably, Thanks, Dad. I'll sign in a couple of days. I need to sort things out with the people at my current company first. Following his mother's instructions, he was doing his best to play the role of a sensible son. That way, his father would feel even more indebted to him. Once the guilt piled up to the point where even his father couldn't wait any longer, that would be his chance to officially become the eldest son of the wealthiest family. Okay, son, Dad is in a meeting. If you need anything, just let me know. Seeing that Junyang wasn't responding to her, the assistant reminded him again, hoping he would sign the contract quickly. If they sign Juyin first and let her stay in this villa, we'll lose a great promotional angle. Renting such a villa for a month would cost hundreds of thousands. She couldn't understand why Junyang was being so difficult. She won't let her stay there. This house was bought for him. Junyang is very confident Juin's contract is the same as Junyang's. Add one clause. Juin will be paid a monthly salary of 100,000 with a contract term of 15 years. Juin thinks she's getting a good deal, but in reality, I'm the one making a killing. In her previous life, she could have bought her own luxury home in at most 2 years. Really, Juin was overjoyed. Recently, she had been participating in a variety show, and there had been a lot of discussion about her appearance. Many said that if only she were a bit prettier, she would have a better chance. She had talent and performance, but with her current looks, it was truly difficult for her to become a big hit. Very few were willing to sign her, and even fewer offered favorable terms. This contract was something she wouldn't have dared to dream of. Are you going to sign? The assistant Wasn't sure why I was so determined to sign Juin, but before I came, I had given her a strict order: we must sign her today. If the terms are not satisfactory, we can discuss further. Satisfactory, satisfactory. This is the second reason I chose Juin. First and foremost, she is an honest person. Even after becoming famous, she remains a good person. Never flattering the high and mighty or trampling on the lowly, and never harming others. Praising her won't lead to being bitten back. Satisfied? Then let's sign the contract now. 2 hours later, the official account of Chuling Entertainment posted its first update: welcome Juin to Chuling Entertainment, and welcome to Villa 888 at Yunshui Manor. The accompanying image was a photo of Juin. When Juin was just Juin, she didn't stand out, but when she portrayed a character, she did it so vividly. And with the added advantage of a luxurious mansion, she made it to the trending list in less than 2 hours, the epitome of a wealthy socialite. This is exactly why I want to be a wealthy socialite. I'm so envious. What kind of magical company is this, actually offering a 300 million mansion for artists to live in for free? Even though I know this is just Chuling Media promoting themselves, I still can't help but feel envious. Does Chuling Media need someone to clean? I'm really good at sweeping. This must be fake. How could something so outrageous happen? It's probably just for show. Look how excited everyone is getting. Let's just move on. Upstairs, the contract has been released. This house is written into the contract. As long as Juin doesn't move out, she can live here for a lifetime. A company like this is like a dream. I'd work there for free. Oh my god, the company actually included such an outrageous clause. Aren't they afraid Juin might really never leave? She's just a nobody, a minor character. What kind of judgment does the boss have? If she can become famous, I could be a film queen. I lay on the sofa in the courtyard, lazily basking in the sun while reading the comments. Half an hour ago, because of this set of photos, Juin received an audition opportunity from the most demanding director in the industry. In my previous life, it took the director half a year to finally decide on Juin. This time, I made sure the director saw Juin earlier. He personally called, insisting that Juin must go for an audition. His excitement was impossible to hide, evident in every word he spoke. On my phone, I finally received the call from my father. I pinched myself hard, gathered my emotions, and answered the video call. His furious voice came through. Linger, didn't you say the house was for Junyang to live in? Why is that Juin person staying there? He wanted to say something more, but my tears began to fall, drop by drop, accompanied by sobs, making my words come out broken and disjointed. Dad, Junyang won't sign it. I thought such a nice house shouldn't go to waste, so I gave it to Juin. She's really ambitious. With just a few photos taken at the villa, she caught the eye of Director Shui. As soon as she collaborates with Director Shui, she'll become a top-tier star right away. She'll definitely make a lot of money for the company then. I did all this just to make you happy. Dad, aren't you happy? Can he say he's not happy? Of course not. Wouldn't that ruin the persona he's built up all these years? Even those who don't follow the entertainment industry know how formidable Director Shui is, and because of Junyang, he understands the weight that the name Director Shui carries. He has always wanted to connect Junyang with Director Shui, but unfortunately, Director Shui doesn't lack money, so his money power doesn't work. As he weighed his thoughts, I continued, Dad, the contract has already been posted online. This house can only be for Juin to live in now. You said before that she was very promising and had a bright future. Have you forgotten? Dad, Dad's judgment is truly remarkable. With such good judgment from Dad, if Junyang were willing to sign, he must have great potential too. Hearing my flattery, the corners of Dad's mouth lifted. He thought I had signed Juin because of him, feeling that everything was back under his control, and his expression improved significantly. If Junyang signs the contract, then get him a villa as well. After a moment's thought, he added, they're both artists under the company, we can't show favoritism. His attempt to cover up the obvious was just ridiculous, but of course I'd play along. It was exactly what I had planned anyway. All right, whatever you say, Dad. If Junyang agrees, how about we buy the one next to 888, number 666? He agreed without a second thought. In his previous life, he meticulously used the company's name to buy a house for his illegitimate child. Now that he can't do it directly, he's still quite happy to let his illegitimate child live in a nice house. In his eyes, I am just his obedient, well-behaved daughter. Everything I have now, he can easily take back later and give to his son. The next day, Junyang's assistant called, asking my assistant to go over and help them handle the breach of contract penalty. I went along to watch the show. Last night, Dad transferred another 5 billion to me. No, 666 only had a little over 2 billion. So I told him I wanted to buy some antiques for Junyang to make the house look more luxurious, since antiques are Very expensive. He gave it to me without hesitation. He's really generous when it comes to his own son. I had people find a batch of high-quality replicas overnight and place them in the villa. I also bought the genuine items and sent the invoices and photos of the real antiques to my dad. He can't openly go to the villa to check their authenticity, and Junyang doesn't have the ability to identify antiques. I'm not worried they can tell it's fake. I immediately sold the items and deposited the money into a newly opened bank account under my name. When I saw Junyang, he had lost the arrogance from his previous life, with dark circles under his eyes. Clearly, he hadn't been sleeping well today. I wore another limited edition dress and carried a new limited edition bag, head to toe in Junyang's favorite brands, watching his brows furrow so tightly they could crush a fly. I asked with a smile, "Still haven't made up your mind? You can sign with Chuling Entertainment after you've decided. As long as my father is around, we won't go bankrupt." I deliberately named the company after myself, just to disgust him as a bastard. He has to live under the shadow of me, the legitimate child. How suffocating that must be. The love he once believed in is beginning to crumble, and he is no longer so certain whether his father truly loves him in this day and age. Very few people still favor sons over daughters. Perhaps his father was just putting on an act in front of him, all to avoid disrupting his original family he hasn't made a name for himself yet, and his mother has never worked a day in her life. They still rely on my father, so until he can stand on his own, he wouldn't dare test his father. My father's affection for my mother is in the sunlight. For them, only the dark corners exist. Watching the change in his expression, I felt quite pleased and took out the chocolates that had been airshipped over, starting to eat them. This, too, was proof of the love my father gave me. He said he had never eaten them before, so I could eat as much as I wanted. Watching his face gradually turn pale, I handed him a piece of chocolate. "Are you hypoglycemic? Why is your face so pale? My dad specially airmailed this from abroad for me. It's really helpful for low blood sugar. Although I don't have hypoglycemia, my dad still wants to give me the best." I spoke very naturally, as if treating him like a complete stranger. He held the chocolate, not even realizing he had crushed it in his hand. While his heart ached, mine was no less tormented. My dad had indeed never bought me this kind of chocolate before. This chocolate required special customization, and I had ordered it myself only after being reborn. When the contract was signed, Junyang looked as if all his vitality had been drained. The assistant brought a photographer to take a set of photos of Junyang, which were then sent to Chuling Entertainment. As usual, Junyang's photos were stunning, but what drew more attention was the fact that Chuling Entertainment actually provided each artist with a private villa. Previously, when Juin received one, people thought it was just a gimmick, but with two artists now, it seemed almost unbelievable. My identity was exposed, and when everyone found out I was the only daughter of the wealthiest man, doted on by him, they all said, "Let's just drop it." I used the official account of Chuling Entertainment to specially like the comment about the only daughter most doted on by the wealthiest man, and pinned a reply. "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for doting on me all these years. I will definitely make Chuling Entertainment bigger and stronger." At the same time, I tagged my dad's company and my parents' personal accounts. I want everyone in the world to know that Chu Jeongwon has only one daughter and only my mom as his wife. This wave of advertising also had a direct impact on my dad's company, with the stock price soaring. So, after learning what I had done, he only tactfully suggested that I shouldn't be so high profile in the future. "Daddy, I love you, and I want everyone to know I love you, to let everyone know you're the best dad. It's only when the illegitimate child is exposed later that it becomes truly explosive. Isn't everything great now? Daddy's company's stock is rising, and your daughter can finally help you, no longer a burden. I'm so happy. I built him up so high he couldn't refute me. You're my only daughter. Who else would I love if not you? I know Daddy is the best." Juin has already passed the audition and joined director Shua's crew. She'll soon rise to even greater heights. Today, the champion of the most beautiful voice, Plum Blossom, wants to join us. She is a highly valuable singer, and she's drawn to our current momentum and the fact that the company's financial backer is Dad. Should we sign her? If we sign her, we'll have to buy a house. As he said himself, we can't show favoritism. Dad's smile froze on his face. I sniffled, looking on the verge of tears. "Dad, it's fine. I'll just tell her that my dad is temporarily facing financial difficulties, and we can collaborate in the future. My dad is a man who values his reputation as the richest man. How could he be said to have financial difficulties? Dad, don't worry about it. I'm already content with having two promising stars with limitless futures. I can always find new artists once I make more money." Even as she said this, tears threatened to fall. It's such a shame about Plum Blossom. She's Such a talented singer, she only felt at ease with me because I'm a female boss, the person in the video side, and eventually transferred $3 billion to me. Getting money from a celebrity to buy a house is no longer an option, so I seized the moment and said, Dad, for the sake of convenience at work, I'd also like to buy a house here. That no, 999 looks pretty good to me. Yunshui Villa no. 999 is under my father's name. He bought it to retire with his mistress. My mother doesn't even know about this house. If it weren't for Juanyang's bragging, I wouldn't have known either. It turns out Dad has been preparing for years to live with those two. The interior is decorated with top-tier fittings. Fortunately, he was afraid of being discovered with a mistress, so only his name is on the property deed. I'll have the property management inquire tomorrow whether the owner of that apartment is willing to sell. The security guard said that after the unit was purchased, handed over, and renovated, it has been left vacant for 10 years without anyone living in it. Watching his expression grow increasingly unpleasant, I pressed on. The security guard mentioned that the owner is likely living abroad, otherwise, they wouldn't have been absent for 10 whole years. Dad, you could give me a place of my own to live in, right? It wouldn't be good for me to keep staying at home and disturbing you and Mom's life. I'm all grown up now. He opened his mouth, then closed it, his face turning an even deeper shade of displeasure before he finally replied, Linger, living at home is perfectly fine. Your mother isn't in the best health, and having you at home puts my mind at ease. How laughable, with maids and servants at home. Such an excuse was utterly feeble. I chose not to respond. Dad, I'll go rent that apartment then. I'm running my own company now. I'm the boss, can't let my employees outdo me in housing. Right, the courtyard's renovation is truly beautiful. Once I earn enough money myself, I'll buy my own place. I can't keep relying on my parents forever. Hearing that I wanted to rent a place on my own, he immediately panicked. If I found out the property owner was him, all these years of playing the loving father and devoted husband would have been for nothing. My dear daughter, how could I let you rent a place? You're the daughter of the wealthiest man in town. Renting would make people think poorly of your father. I'll have my assistant handle this apartment for you. He'll negotiate the price. The 999th unit is very expensive. I don't want you to get shortchanged. Thank you, Dad. I'll pay you back once I earn the money. After saying this, he felt too embarrassed to put my name on the property deed as a gift. Dad, I love you. You really are the best father in the world. Being your daughter is the happiest thing in my life. I kept praising him, acting, who can't do it as long as you don't take it to heart. When I got the property deed for Villa No. 999, I deliberately swung by Juanyang's place with the newly signed singer, Plum Blossom. Boss, your dad really loves you so much. He bought you all the best villas in the community. Number 999 is worth $1 billion. When can I be reborn into such a good life? Meihua is a singer with no celebrity airs, lively and outgoing. She kept chattering in front of Juanyang. Can I have that villa all to myself? I flicked her forehead. Of course, my dad paid for it. So you can live there as you please, but remember, you have to release at least 2 chart-topping songs a year, or I'll find you 2 roommates. 2 songs, easy peasy. She is a singer-songwriter with considerable talent, but a bit lazy and afraid of industry exploitation. Seeing that I am a female boss, the contract has no harsh conditions, and there is a villa here where she can just relax. She proactively sought to sign with me. Juanyang's face darkened as he looked at us with displeasure. Meihua turned her head and was startled by his expression. She quickly explained, I just couldn't help myself. You two talk first. I recruited the most famous agent in the industry for Juanyang, someone who appears impressive now but will face a major scandal in a year. She said Juanyang hasn't been wanting to take on any roles lately. I know he's just throwing a little tantrum, and I'm actually quite happy about it. The more he slacks off, the better it is for me, but as a normal boss, when an employee is clearly slacking off, I definitely have to pretend to show some concern. Otherwise, it would look suspicious. I casually placed the red booklet on the high table, leaned lazily against it, and finally looked at Juanyang unhurriedly. I heard you haven't had time to film recently. May I ask what you've been busy with lately? He replied matter-of-factly, I plan to accompany my parents abroad for half a year, travel together and see the world. I'll come back to take on roles after that. Aren't you going to college? I remember in my previous life, Juanyang did attend university. Could it be that he's been too deeply affected this time around? In the next 6 months, my father will send me abroad to study with a master performer for a few months. Becoming a master's disciple holds more value than a university education. It seems he's planning to find a way to spend my father's money, trying to balance his unwilling heart to compete with me. He's even giving up on college. His mind isn't all that sharp, is it? Or perhaps, when someone desires too much, that doesn't belong to them, their judgment becomes clouded. Is your father working abroad? I was very serious, this was important to me. I had always wanted to find an opportunity to get my mother a heart transplant, and I couldn't let my father know. If he were to go abroad, things would be much simpler. Hearing this question, a proud smile spread across his face. My dad said that for the sake of my better development, he'll accompany my mother and me to stay abroad for half a year. He'll also work at the overseas branch for half a year. For my career, he'll do everything he can to help me. I also flashed a bright smile. You're so lucky to have a father like that. There's no rush on my end. You can study abroad for 1 or 2 years, no problem, study hard, and when you come back, I'll find you a great script that will make you soar to the sky, and then come crashing back down. He didn't see any jealousy in my eyes, and a flash of hatred crossed his face, to pretend I didn't know his identity. I generously offered, if you want to take on roles abroad, the company can arrange it. I'll send a few people overseas to provide you with close, personal service. He definitely wouldn't agree. If he did, wouldn't that expose the fact that he's an illegitimate child? He firmly refused. It's fine, I'll just take on roles domestically after I finish my studies. All right, I'll be living at No. 999 from now on. When you come back, you can find me at No. 999. I opened the property deed and let him clearly see the name on it. Chu Ling, 100% ownership of this property. This is a fucking retirement home. With a crack, Junyang actually crushed the cup in his hand. Plum Blossom asked excitedly, you also think the boss's dad loves her too much, right? This is a $1 billion villa, the most expensive villa in the whole city. I just looked at the decoration, the layout, the design. All the work of world-class masters. In my next life, I want to be reborn into such a good family. 2. Looking at the excited Plum Blossom, I really wanted to say, it's best not to be reborn into such a family. You might die with your eyes wide open. Junyang's assistant quickly brought over the first aid kit. Lately, she had been a bit afraid to get too close to Junyang. The once gentle and refined man had recently become strangely temperamental, frighteningly so. She kept a wide distance between herself and Junyang as she cleaned and bandaged his wound. The play was over, and I left with Plum Blossom. When I returned home in the evening, Dad was sitting on the sofa. He looked at me as if he wanted to say something but held back. I knew Junyang must have said something to him again, and maybe even the mistress had spoken to him too, but what could he do? He could only swallow his broken teeth and keep it all inside. Mom was busy in the kitchen with the auntie, both of them chatting and laughing. Hearing Mom's laughter, I truly wished she would never have to know the truth, but if Junyang wants to rise to power, it's impossible for him not to know. The top priority now is to find a suitable heart source for my mother. I increased the reward on my phone, expanding the search for a heart source from domestic to international, as long as it's suitable. It doesn't matter which country the donor is from. The antiques I've been reselling have also brought me close to 300 million. Finding a suitable heart for my mother and covering her rehabilitation will be more than enough. During the meal, Dad, who usually served Mom food, kept his head down and ate in silence, hesitating several times as if wanting to speak. Just as Mom was about to clear the dishes, he finally spoke. There's been some trouble at the overseas branch recently. I need to go abroad for 6 months to a year to resolve it. Hearing his words, Mom showed no displeasure. She smiled gently and replied, go ahead, I'll take care of things at home. Linger has grown up now. She's about to start university and plans to open her own company, so she'll be busy. 2. Mom's gentle understanding brought a flicker of guilt to Dad's face, though it lasted only a second. I lowered my head to drink water, hearing Dad ask me, what about Linger? If you don't want Dad to leave, we can forget about the overseas branch. My precious daughter is still the most important. Even though he had already made arrangements with them, he was still pretending here. I raised a smile and said, Dad, your career is the most important. Mom was right, I'm very busy now too. Even if you were home, I might not come back much. It's so hard to build up an overseas company. We definitely can't give up on it. I'll wait for you to come back in Haicheng. The next day, Dad left with his luggage. That same day, I saw Junyang's photo of a plane ticket on his social media account. It was the same flight as my dad's. I was surprised they didn't even take separate flights. I pretended not to notice the corner of Junyang's photo, where Dad's hand was pushing a suitcase, although it was heartbreaking. I had already experienced even greater sorrow in my previous life, so this time I could face it calmly. Money makes things easier. On the third day after my scumbag dad left, I received news of a suitable heart donor. I should have been overjoyed. What a coincidence. The person is in the same country where my scumbag dad and his mistress are. If we run into my scumbag dad, his mistress, and their family of 3, wouldn't Mom be in great danger? I paced around the living room, Unable to make up my mind, Mom came and sat down behind me. Linger, you've been pacing for almost an hour. Is something wrong? Mom, I found a suitable heart donor, but unfortunately, the person is in country W. I'm thinking about whether to take you there for the surgery. Your health might not be able to handle the long journey. Mom let out a sigh. Child, have you found out something? The phone in my hand nearly slipped to the floor. After a moment of fumbling, I managed to steady it. Mom, what are you talking about? What do I know? It's not because of the exhausting journey, but because your father is in country W, isn't it? My mind went completely blank. Mom, you mean, I didn't dare finish the sentence, afraid we might not be talking about the same thing. Your father had an affair because I didn't give him a son. She said it so calmly, so terrifyingly calm. So in my past life, Mom didn't die because she found out about the other woman. She gently took my hand and had me sit beside her. How could I not know when my own husband carried the scent of another woman's perfume, the smell of milk? With my weak constitution, I'm even more sensitive to smells. I was afraid my little Linger couldn't handle it, and I didn't dare risk having a son, only for my little Linger to possibly lose her mother. So everything Mom did was for me. In my past life, it was because I inexplicably became an illegitimate child, and she worried herself to death over me. In that moment, tears streamed down my face as if I were the real culprit who had caused my mother's death in my previous life. At this moment, my defenses crumbled because of a mother's love. Mom, you've suffered so much. I cried uncontrollably, and Mom held me carefully. It's Mom's fault. Because of me, Linger has been wronged. It seems Mom has noticed my recent unusual behavior. In the past, I wanted to be a happy freeloader, but now I am single-mindedly focused on squeezing money out of Dad's pockets. So far, I've already managed to squeeze out over $2 billion, which is somewhat effective. Fortunately, Dad has been feeling guilty and hasn't noticed my abnormality. Since Mom already knows, then all these years she has been living strong, just so I could have a mother. Thinking of this, my tears once again uncontrollably fell. For Linger, Mom will also be strong. Don't worry that Mom will be sad. What makes Mom saddest is if Linger had no mother, if she were bullied. For Linger, Mom will definitely be strong. Yes, in my past life, without a mother, I met a tragic end. My heart felt as if being pricked by countless needles. I held my mother and cried for a long time before finally calming down. The person on the other end of the phone called again. Miss Chu, if you still want the heart source, you must come to Country W immediately. The patient can only live for 2 or 3 days at most. We will fly to Country W right away. Please arrange for the best doctors for us. Money is no object for the patient. The patient had 4 children and, thinking of securing the greatest benefits for them before passing away, decided to donate everything that could be donated. The laws of Country W have a humanitarian provision. If a patient is truly beyond cure and nearing death, and the family is in dire financial straits, they can sign an agreement with a legitimate hospital to donate their body. In return, the family receives a corresponding subsidy, ensuring that surviving family members, such as children, have the means to grow up smoothly. The subsidy is provided by the beneficiary, and all procedures must be formalized through signed documents and follow legal processes, whether due to the physical condition of the other party or the legal requirements. Both my mother and I need to go to Country W in person to complete the formalities. Worried about my mother's health, I arranged for 2 doctors to accompany us, bringing ample medication and medical equipment to handle any emergencies. My mother thought I was overreacting, unaware of how deeply I feared she might end up like in my previous life, dying with her eyes wide open, filled with regret. This time, I kissed my mother, determined to live well until the very end. Worried that my mother might be unwell, I booked an early ticket and arrived in Country W by evening. We checked into a hotel first, and the next day, we went straight to the hospital to sign the agreement and make the payment. I'm sorry, but the patient was already donated to someone else last night. I just found out myself. The young girl was on the verge of tears. This was a suitable match she had worked so hard to find, and her tuition for the next semester depended on me. An indescribable sense of loss washed over me. We have to sign the contract and follow the procedure first. There's no option for a deposit reservation. I felt all my strength drain away, nearly collapsing to the floor. My mother, quick as ever, caught me. I'm doing fine now, and I can hold on for a few more years. I've been taking good care of my health all this time. My mother's comforting words only made me feel worse. If my father hadn't had an affair or a secret child, she wouldn't have had to suffer so much over the years. Just as I was wondering what to do next, the young girl muttered a complaint. How despicable, using a real heart for a performance class. Shouldn't they use a simulated one instead? It's just sick, competing with patients for something like This, turning a matter of life and death into a game, all because they have a bit of money, how outrageous. The little girl clenched her fists tightly, anger spilled over from my face, my entire body turned ice cold. I tilted my head to look at Mom. If she knew Dad had been unfaithful long ago, then she might also know that Junyang was the illegitimate child. Thinking about how I had been discussing the illegitimate child with Dad all this time, how much pain Mom must have been in, a wave of immense regret surged within me. Surprisingly, Mom remained extraordinarily calm, not even a single frown on her brow. My heart ached, and at the same time, I felt utterly hopeless. During the times I thought were happy, how much grievance did my mother endure to be able to appear so calm now? For the sake of her child's happiness, she acted out a picture of happiness. For my mother, I was filled with guilt. Mom, I said, my heart aching to the extreme, I've held you back, silly child, without you. Your mother might have been gone long ago. It was you who gave your mother a happy life, who gave her something to cherish in this world. Her voice was as gentle as ever, but I could feel her body trembling slightly as she held me. I wanted to take my mother back to the hotel and then return alone to negotiate with the patient, but she refused. Let's go together, in this lifetime. Your mother is already content just to see you happy, now that Linger knows how to seek her own well-being and protect herself. Your mother can leave with peace of mind. My heart was gripped with pain. The happy family I thought I had was completely shattered in this moment. How much suffering had my mother endured all these years? She had forced herself to perform happiness just to make me happy. Since my mother disagreed, I could only follow her to find the patient. Unexpectedly, we ran into Junyang and his mother. They were waiting for the elevator with their backs turned to us. Fortunately, I've been keeping an eye on the heart donor situation all along, which allowed me to intercept her heart source. That old thing, how come he hasn't died after living all these years? The little girl widened her eyes in disbelief, looking toward the two people at the elevator entrance. Since everyone here speaks the language of country W, they didn't hold back at all when using their native tongue. I really wanted to go over and kick that damn illegitimate son, but Mom couldn't handle the stress. I pulled Mom forward, not wanting to cause any more trouble, but I've already taken it to heart, and I'll settle this score along with the rest. Don't let your father know, you just need to be a good son, the woman said calmly, as if Junyang had done something trivial. In front of him, you must appear kind enough for him to feel at ease leaving the family fortune to you. If your father decides to start over with a new heir, we'll end up with nothing. Fine, Junyang replied reluctantly, I'm already doing my best to play the part of a good son. Once I get the family fortune, I'll deal with them. Mom swayed unsteadily, and I quickly reached out to support her. If it weren't for the fact that illegitimate children have inheritance rights and my mother didn't want my things to be divided, she definitely wouldn't have been able to tolerate it. Once again, I deeply felt how heavy my mother's love was. The elevator doors opened, and the two of them stepped inside. We also happened to enter the patient's room at that moment. A woman, gaunt and withered, lay on the bed, her sunken eyes filled with deep longing as she gazed at the row of children by her bedside. Mom won't be able to take care of you anymore. You must live well from now on. Big brother, promise me you'll look after your younger siblings. Okay, I've left some money for you, enough to help you grow up. That older brother was only about 10 years old, the youngest just 3, standing in a row by the bedside. Looking utterly pitiful, the woman's husband passed away unexpectedly a year ago. She's been running around for her 4 children and fell ill, the little girl whispered softly in my ear, explaining. Hearing this, I found hope. I approached the woman and told her in the language of W country, Madam, hello, I am the only daughter of the wealthiest person in H country. My mother's heart matches yours. As long as you agree to give your heart to my mother, I can sign an agreement to ensure your for children receive the best education and care until they graduate from university. The woman on the bed sat up excitedly, trembling as she replied to me in the language of W country, is what you're saying true? The little girl, seeing the reaction of the person on the bed, immediately took out her student ID. Compared to me, a foreigner from H country, she was a student at a prestigious university in W country, which was much more convincing. Yes, 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 this is the daughter of the wealthiest person in our H country. She's incredibly rich. Her employee dormitories are villas worth billions. Taking care of your 4 children would be a breeze for her. She pulled up the official homepage of Chuling Media on her phone. The automatic translation feature made it easy for the woman from W country to understand the content. So you're the owner of Chuling Entertainment and also the daughter of that wealthiest person. Yes, you can bring in a notary, and we can draw up a contract. Would you like to consider it, ma'am? Her eyes suddenly dimmed again. I've already promised it to someone else. He offered twice what you did earlier. I agreed for the sake of my child, so they could have a better life. As she spoke, she lowered her head in shame. Ma'am, I understand your concerns. The one offering you double is my husband's illegitimate child outside our marriage. He hopes I die so he can seize my daughter's inheritance. I believe you can understand me. I don't want my child to suffer without a mother. My mother's gentle voice calmed the woman. Since I bear a 70% resemblance to my mother, there was no doubt about our relationship. She bit her lip and said, "But I've already signed a contract with them. We can make the other party think you gave it to him. He needs this under the pretense of acting class, so whether the heart is a match or not doesn't matter. I can give him a simulated one. Do you want your heart to be discarded like that? If you place it in my mother's chest, your children will still be able to feel your heartbeat in the future. It will give them more strength to carry on. In a way, you'll still be by your children's side, watching them grow up and succeed." After hearing my words, the eldest child grabbed her hand. The young boy, tears welling in his eyes, stubbornly refused to let them fall. "Mom, give it to them. I don't want Mom's heart to be treated like an object, used up in a performance class and then thrown away like trash. It would make me sad. It would make me sad for a lifetime, if you could live in another way. We don't need that much money. I will raise my younger siblings. I live for my children, and you live for yours. Let's both keep living." The mother's gentle voice moved the woman. She was already beyond the help of medicine. If she could stay by her children's side, how could she ever be willing to leave? We finally reached an agreement. The woman would sign the consent form for my mother's surgery, and I arranged for my mother to undergo another compatibility test with her. I then called the hospital's external cooperation hotline. "Hello, I'd like to donate 50 million worth of medical equipment to your hospital." Upon hearing my words, the hospital quickly sent someone to coordinate with me. Unexpectedly, it was the hospital director who received me. I stated my demands. The hospital must keep it confidential and perform the surgery for my mother, and give Junyang a 100% realistic artificial heart. As long as they agreed, I would donate 50 million worth of medical equipment. Once my mother recovered and was discharged from the hospital, in addition to the medical fees, I would donate another 50 million worth of medical equipment to the hospital. When the hospital director heard that Junyang had actually used a real human heart as a prop for a performance class, he immediately agreed to my demands. He scolded the staff below, but they had only approved the application because the 4 children were truly pitiful and the woman had volunteered. I instructed the director to keep everything confidential. This matter must not be leaked to anyone. Before I can drain Dad's assets, I can't let him know that Mom is having surgery, otherwise, Mom would be in great danger. They currently assume Mom is going to die. If they find out she won't die after all, there's no telling what they might do. The hospital respected our request, which wasn't unusual. Protecting patient privacy is part of their duty, so everything went smoothly, and the tissue match between Mom and the woman was also very good. Mom was assigned to a top-floor VIP ward with excellent privacy, and the surgery was very successful. The children stayed by Mom's side the whole time, looking at her as if she were their own mother. "From now on, you are my children." She gathered them all into her arms. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Junyang, upon receiving the heart, opened the box and, seeing the bloody organ, immediately threw it into the trash. If it hadn't required his personal signature for delivery, he wouldn't have even accepted it. His people confirmed that the international student was still going around asking patients if they were willing to donate their hearts. Knowing that Chu Ling's dying mother was still searching for a heart donor put him in a very good mood. As long as that woman dies, he can become the eldest son of the wealthiest family. If it weren't for her heart condition, he could have returned long ago. If it weren't for his father's reputation and the company's stock, he would have already made his move. Thinking about how all of that will be his in the future, he feels it's nothing to endure a little longer, but the thought of Chu Ling spending so much money makes him uncomfortable, as if it were his own money being wasted. For now, though, he has to listen to his mother, win his father's favor, become the brightest star, and make his father proud. In high spirits, he heads off to the expensive master acting class his father bought for him. I applied to the university for deferred enrollment. Since I've already studied the college curriculum in my past life, completing 4 years worth of courses in 3 shouldn't be a problem. In the 4th month in country W, Mom insisted on returning home. "Your dad might be back in about 2 months. I need to go back first to avoid raising any suspicion." After confirming that Mom had recovered well, I took her and the 4 children back to our home country. As agreed, I also donated 50 million worth of medical equipment to the hospital. According to the examination results, the hospital had put great care into Mom's rehabilitation. She had already reached the recovery level of most people 1 year after surgery, able to walk briskly normally and even run for short periods. Her condition has improved significantly compared to before the surgery. With another 6 months of recovery, she'll be able to live like a normal person. To take care of my mother, I brought her to No. 999, along with the 4 Children, I enrolled them in an international school, ages 3 to 10, all sent off to school. I arranged for a family doctor and a nanny to care for my mother around the clock, and then I began my own university studies in the plan to drain my father's family assets. After I caught up on the university courses I had missed, it happened that Juin's TV series was airing on the hottest platform. Her outstanding acting skills, combined with director Shui's reputation, instantly made her a sought after star that day. I walked into my father's office with my hands clasped behind my back. His secretary warmly poured me a cup of tea. After finishing the tea, I leisurely made my way behind my father's desk, sat down, logged into his work system, approved the endorsement application, printed it out, took the company's seal from his desk, and stamped it with a series of crisp thuds. 2 billion yuan was transferred into the account. Miss, did the chairman approve this? The secretary, having read the document clearly, broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. Is our annual endorsement fee really this high? This isn't for 1 year, it's for 20 years. For the next 20 years, Juin will be the spokesperson for all our Chu family enterprises, and I even got a 50% discount, friendship price, 20 years. The secretary thought she must have misheard. For 20 years. Across all the company's products, it's indeed not expensive, but who signs a contract for 20 years? All right, Dad has already agreed. Look, don't I know the password to his safe and the code for his system? If he hadn't agreed, why would he have given me these passwords? The password was Juin Yang's idea, his birthday. It just so happened that I signed a contract with him, so I knew his birthday very well. I have to thank him for always looking for proof that Dad loves him, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get my hands on 2 billion so easily. Hurry up and push the finance department to transfer the money. I'm still waiting. The secretary glanced at her phone. It was still the middle of the night in Country W. The chairman had said that during his time in Country W, unless it was a matter of life and death, she shouldn't disturb his sleep at night. Not going. Do you not want this job anymore? The secretary quickly made the arrangements, and within half an hour, she received confirmation that the funds had been transferred. As soon as the money arrived, I called my dad. It took a long time for him to answer the phone. Hey, sweetie, what made you think of calling me? I pinched myself. Dad, I made a mistake, or maybe someone from your company made a mistake, but in the end, something went wrong. I sobbed. The secretary beside me widened her eyes. He suppressed his emotions on the other end. Sweetie, what exactly happened? Tell Daddy, and Daddy will help you solve it, since Juin has become so popular. I thought I should quickly have him sign endorsements with all of Chu Group's companies. That way, we could lock him in at the lowest price and secure benefits for you, Dad. But as it turned out, the contract changed from 2 years to 20 years, and from 200 million to 20 billion. What? Hearing his sudden outburst, I cried even harder. Juin is definitely going to be an international superstar in the future, based on the rates for international superstars. With Chu Group having hundreds of companies both domestically and internationally, the endorsement fee for 20 years would be at least 200 billion, so we actually made a profit. Dad, please don't be angry. I heard Junyang is studying acting with an international master. When he comes back and signs an endorsement with our company, 20 years would easily be worth 200 billion. Our loss would be huge. Hearing me mention the 200 billion endorsement fee for Junyang, rustling sounds came from the other end. Unsurprisingly, that mistress wanted to secure the 200 billion for her son. This was money obtained openly and honestly. How could she let it slip? That's exactly why I chose to make this call while they were sleeping. All right then, the contract is already signed, and we can't go back on our word. Sweetie, Daddy's going to sleep now. They hung up the phone eagerly, and before the call ended, I heard some indescribable sounds. The secretary first covered her mouth, then her ears. Miss, I didn't hear anything. Smart people sure make things easy. That settles it then. I'll be off now. If you have any good opportunities, feel free to reach out. My commission starts at 500,000. Just as I was about to step out of the office, he said, all right, miss, from now on, I'm your dog. Just tell me who to bite, and I'll bite them. His words made me suspect he wanted to bite Junyang. I never thought my father was a fool. He just believed I was under his control, that what was mine was his. In my previous life, he always wanted to give his illegitimate child a rightful share of the assets, handing over tens of billions to Junyang in the name of endorsement fees. I simply helped him do what he wanted, so that his illegitimate child could openly receive the endorsement fees. In the end, he had no choice but to acknowledge Juin's endorsement fees, but she didn't know. I was no longer someone he could control, and I had no intention of giving his illegitimate child a single cent. The endorsement I signed is listed as a Chu Ling media artist, without specifying who exactly. I Just let them assume it was Junyang, for instance. This time, I'll have Juyin endorse all of the Chu family's products, big and small. I'll make them think what I said aligns with their understanding, then I'll let them walk right into my trap. Back at the company, I signed a 1-year endorsement deal with Juyin and gave her 60 million. After receiving the money, Juyin hugged and kissed me for a long time, making me feel full of happiness. As expected, Junyang will be back soon for the 200 billion I mentioned, and to prevent me from continuing to grow stronger, they won't stay away for long. They'll return as soon as they've successfully gilded themselves. They came back even faster than I thought. My father showed up at my villa the very next day. Sweetie, let's go ahead and sign that endorsement deal for Junyang that you mentioned. It's most cost-effective for us to do it before he becomes famous. Mom finished arranging the flowers and said gently to us, if you two need to discuss work, I'll go out for some exercise first. I had already discussed my plan with Mom, and she had no objections. Before Dad could even respond, she had already left the house with the nanny. Once Mom was out the door, I said, Dad, right now Junyang has no fame at all. If we sign an endorsement deal, the company's shareholders will be unhappy. I've already contacted a major IP project for him to join the cast and gain some experience. In 6 months, when he has built up some reputation, we can sign the deal. That way, it will be more cost-effective, and no one will have any objections. I placed the script of a major IP blockbuster from my previous life in front of my dad, with everything from the director to the cast, the script, and the promotion all being top-tier. On the surface, it was a flawless big-budget production, with cameo appearances by industry heavyweights. I had secured the role of the second male lead for Junyang, showing my utmost sincerity. You got Junyang, the second male lead. Dad was nearly speechless with shock. I lowered my head obediently. Exactly. Recently, all the money Bamboo Sound and Plum Blossom earned for the company, plus every penny Mom and I have, has been poured into this. If there were 2 billion, I could land the male lead role. Hearing about the male lead, his father's eyes lit up. You can really get the male lead. I nodded eagerly. You can't spread this around. The director is a disciple of Director Shui, and Director Shui introduced us. Actually, it was in my previous life when the entire film crew collapsed that I found out the director had a preference for men, and all the male actors in the crew had been subjected to his casting couch. The show was highly promoted and popular during its promotional period, but by the time it was released, both the director and all the male actors had completely collapsed, banned from airing. I didn't spend a single penny. I just showed the director Junyang's photo and said, isn't he beautiful? As long as you give him the second male lead role, I can let you hold his hand. Junyang is just too handsome, so he directly landed the role of the male lead's rival. Meanwhile, my dad is pondering whether spending 2 billion to buy the male lead role is worth it. The director of this drama is a genius. Even as the male lead's rival, Junyang can still become a huge hit. Signing endorsements right after the wrap-up is the most cost-effective. Spending 2 billion to buy the male lead role is quite absurd, but seeing my dad's eyes darting around, I know it's probably going to happen. The money arrived that same night. I found a Photoshop expert and had them create a fake transfer screenshot to show my dad. The next day, Junyang returned from abroad. I took the script to him and made it clear. The director accepted you as the male lead. Money is secondary. It's mainly because he likes you. Don't pick fights with the director just because I spent money to get you the role. That would be a waste of money, and if the director isn't satisfied and kicks you out of the production, you'll have to compensate the company for the 2 billion spent. After receiving the 2 billion transfer from my dad, I also signed a contract with the director, agreeing to pay 2 billion in 6 months if Junyang could be elevated to A-list status through this drama. I also noted that during filming, Junyang must comply with all the director's requirements. I showed the contract to Junyang, only blocking the clause about payment being due 6 months after the show's premiere. Taking advantage of the information gap, I threw Junyang and that other artist, whose scandal broke around the same time as the crew's, into the production together. Juyin and Meihua are both very self-disciplined and hardworking. In my remaining time, I focus on studying and keeping my mother company, while constantly finding various excuses to squeeze money and assets from my father. I used to be quite lazy, but lately, I've become incredibly diligent. I signed up for an advanced piano class taught by an international master, a social etiquette course for ladies, and every other expensive class you can think of, all just for show. I successfully managed to pocket 2 billion. I also took up antique restoration. During the process, I accidentally shattered several priceless antiques worth over 1 billion each, which allowed me to squeeze out a few more billion. Then I tried racing cars, got into a chain collision, and wrecked over a dozen luxury vehicles, costing another 7 or 8 billion, spend too much money and gain nothing. I cried in front of my dad for several days. To soothe my wounded heart, he gave me a few $100 million more, hired several promising newcomers, and told me to focus fully on developing my career, mainly to keep me busy so I wouldn't have time to mess with him anymore. Just one day before the Junyoung film crew wrapped up shooting, as I was thinking about how to bring up the endorsement deal, my dad came to find me. My dear daughter, Junyoung's film crew is about to wrap up tomorrow, so the endorsement deal can be signed now. I slightly curved my lips. How many years does Dad want to sign for? Is it an exclusive or a sole endorsement? Have you discussed it with Junyoung? What's his opinion? After speaking, I added, I'll call him and his agent over now to discuss it together. It's already been discussed, a lifetime exclusive endorsement. I rolled my eyes inwardly. Lifetime contract. How eager he was to throw money at his illegitimate child. Too bad it's all mine now. Alright, whatever Dad has arranged is fine. I'll follow your lead completely. I didn't even ask for the exact amount, just had my assistant and Dad's secretary fill out the contract. When I saw the final figure, I was stunned. 30 billion. Ever since my rebirth, I've worked tirelessly for a whole year, performing day in and day out, just to accumulate a little over 6 billion in assets. Yet, in the blink of an eye, he's ready to hand over 30 billion to Junyoung. Is he planning to give Junyoung all of his liquid assets? Unfortunately for him, his secretary is now on my side and didn't inform him that Junyoung's name wasn't on the contract. That very night, Junyoung showed up at my villa, wanting to ask me about the endorsement deal. My mother turned him away, claiming I was already asleep. Now my mother's health has returned to normal. But Junyoung doesn't know this, fearing it might upset my mother. He left first. Today is a good day, the day Junyoung's career collapses, the day Junyoung's agent's career collapses. It is also the day my father finds himself surrounded on all sides. I applied a sickly makeup look on my mother, and together we went to Junyoung's wrap-up event. By the time we arrived, the scene was already in chaos, thanks to my behind-the-scenes efforts. This time all the reporters in Haicheng had come to capture the first-hand footage, making the scene even more spectacular than in the previous life. The female actors from the crew had already broken through the encirclement, each of them cursing the director and the male actors for being shameless and wasting half a year of their time. Junyoung's identity as the illegitimate son of the richest man was also exposed at the same time. In the previous life, he had revealed it himself at the peak of his glory, but in this life, he was exposed in the midst of his disgrace. #richest man's illegitimate son likes men trended on social media. This time, I released the videos of Junyoung and my father from their childhood. Mom immediately pretended to faint and was photographed by a large number of reporters. I drove her to the hospital and doctor she had arranged in advance. #richest man's first wife hospitalized due to heart attack after husband's affair. A series of news stories spread like wildfire across the internet. I spent 50 million hiring online trolls. The incident was real, and the scandal was juicy enough that no matter how Dad tried to suppress it, he couldn't keep the news under wraps. According to my secretary's report, he had already smashed 20 cups in his office. The stock kept plummeting, and his consumers were about to abandon Chu Jiangwen, the scumbag. Hundreds of companies under the Chu family's name received a flood of order cancellations and partnership terminations. This list was deliberately released by me, not a single one missing. In my past life, my father and his illegitimate son left me penniless and with nowhere to turn. In this life, I'll let them experience what true despair feels like. Online, Junyoung was beaten black and blue, his once handsome face now unrecognizable. The secretary informed me that Dad is coming to see Mom and me, and wants us to post a statement online saying that the illegitimate child is his real child, while I am just an accidental child with Mom. He married Mom only because she has a heart condition. He really dares to think, planning to sacrifice Mom to save himself. If Mom were unaware and her heart condition hadn't improved, she would be furious to death at this moment. This should be the outcome he deserves. He still intends to sacrifice me and Mom to fulfill his selfish desires. I had Mom pretend to be unconscious in bed. When Dad arrived at the hospital room, I started the live stream. Sweetie, is your mom still not awake? Seeing my mother with her eyes closed, he felt somewhat disappointed. Ever since hearing about Dad's affair, she's been in a deep sleep. The doctor says Mom doesn't want to accept reality and refuses to wake up. Dad's shrewd eyes darted around a few times. Sweetie, help Daddy out, will you? Tell the media that your mother told you she was just the other woman between me and Junyoung's mom, and then I had to abandon the one I loved because she has a heart condition. I took a few steps back, looking at him in disbelief. Dad, how could you slander Mom like this? Are you trying to kill her? She has a heart condition. If she finds out how you've treated her, it could kill her. By the end, I was practically shouting, unleashing the resentment and bitterness from my past life all at once. Why, even though Junyang has already collapsed and rotted away, he still insists on protecting his illegitimate child and mistress. He could have resolved this with a completely different story, that he was drugged, the mistress got pregnant, and for the sake of the company, he had no choice but to play along. He could have claimed he never gave them any family assets, only provided for their basic needs. That version would have been far more convincing and would have done much more to salvage his company's reputation, yet he still chose to sacrifice me and my mother. Just like in the previous life, a worthless son is still better than a daughter. I was utterly disappointed. If he hadn't sacrificed us this time, I might have considered giving him some money. Now, that thought is completely gone. Dad, you should go back. I can't bring myself to say such things. You were the one who sought a mistress outside to have a son, so how did it become Mom who interfered? Mom has a heart condition. Have you ever thought about how much it hurts her every time you come home after being intimate with another woman? She's already struggling so much. Why can't you just let her go? Dad irritably loosened his tie. If it weren't for my money supporting her, your mother's heart condition would have killed her long ago. I've provided for all of you for so many years. Is it too much to ask for something in return? Besides, your mother doesn't have much time left anyway. Isn't sacrificing her the most beneficial choice? What a terrifying line of reasoning. Dad, does that mean I'm also someone you can sacrifice at will? If you're framing Mom as the one who interfered, then what about me? Do I become the illegitimate child? Does your mistress become your true love? And does that illegitimate son become your real heir? Tears streamed down my face as I saw the glistening tears tracing a path from the corner of my mother's eyes. At that moment, my mother's heart was completely broken. Before this, my mother had still tried to persuade me, saying, after all, he is your father, you are always meant to marry out of the family. Even as an illegitimate daughter, you are still the daughter of the richest man. Who would dare bully you? Thinking of my past life, I wiped away my tears. No one bullied me. Only you and your illegitimate child, you hypocritical man. When I was 5, there was clearly a heart donor available for Mom, but you gave up on her heart transplant just so you could be with your mistress and your illegitimate child sooner. 11 years ago, you already bought a retirement home for you and your mistress. You don't deserve to be my father, nor do you deserve to be Mom's husband. From now on, we have nothing to do with you. After saying that, I pushed him out of the hospital room. He was still in shock that I knew about the retirement home he bought for his mistress. By the time he snapped out of it, I had already slammed the door shut. I sat on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Mom was also in tears, but she didn't cry. Instead, she held me gently in her arms. Outside the door, there was a constant pounding. Chu Ling, open the door. If you remain stubborn, I'll announce to the public myself that your mother used her heart condition to threaten me into marriage, making our union invalid. Junyang and his mother are my real family, while your mother is the one who seduced me. At the same time, my phone received a notification, a Weibo statement from my father, word for word, exactly the same as in my previous life. I unfollowed him and left a comment, scumbag, go die. From now on, my mother and I have nothing to do with you. Don't come near us. Mom saw what was on my phone, opened the door, and with a sharp crack, slapped my father right across the face as he was shouting. The camera on my phone happened to be angled upward, capturing this exact moment. I had no idea that the live stream had already exploded into chaos. That slap was so satisfying. The billionaire's wife must have been holding back for too long. Her slaps were so smooth, 6 in a row, leaving the scumbag completely dazed. The 6 slaps didn't end there. My mom switched hands and delivered another 6 in a row. For a moment, I forgot to cry. I stood up and kicked at the person trying to grab my mom, channeling the hatred from my past life, sending him flying. You damn scumbag, still trying to hit my mom, turning to see my mother silently crying. My desire to beat up the scumbag vanished. I took my mother and left the hospital, thanks to my live stream and the online supporters I had prepared in advance. My father's clarification this time produced the exact opposite result compared to the previous life. This time, the majority of the criticism was directed at the scumbag, the mistress, and the illegitimate child, the massive influx of bystanders joining the discussion prevented the water army hired by the Chu family from making any significant impact. Mom publicly announced that she was cutting all ties with Dad from now on. Dad was caught up in the frantic effort to save the company, to help Junyang. He had already used up all the company's liquid funds. Now, with expenses piling up everywhere and no income coming in, the massive enterprise was on the verge of collapse. The secretary told me that the mistress had advised Dad to sell the company. to recoup some money, but he refused. I had guessed as much. As the wealthiest man, he had a strong sense of pride and cared deeply about his reputation. How could he possibly admit defeat and sell the company? The situation is that they can't even pay their employees' salaries anymore. Material suppliers no longer accept delivering goods first and settling payments 6 months later. Customers are pressing for deliveries every day, driving him to the brink of madness. In contrast, on my side, I publicly announced that Junyang wasn't signed by me but by my father. The remaining new representatives from Juyin and Meihua are also performing well, so the company hasn't been significantly affected. Sweetie, lend some money to Dad. No money, Chu Linger, all this money is mine, and I have the right to take it back. I've recorded everything, you gave it to me voluntarily. Every single cent I earned through my own abilities. You didn't give Junyang his endorsement fee, he still owes me compensation for emotional distress. I took out the contract between Junyang and me, which included a clause stating that if his reputation damaged the company's interests, he would not receive his salary. This clause was specifically tailored for him back then. Although everyone's contract had this clause, only Junyang ended up needing it. Your star's reputation is problematic, our company demands compensation. I pulled out a 30 billion contract and made him look closely. It clearly stated the artist was from Chu Ling Entertainment. I pointed at the circle of newcomers. Who among you is willing to endorse this company that's about to go bankrupt? You can attach the label of the richest man on the verge of bankruptcy and save yourself 5 years of hard work. Dad slammed the table in anger. Chu Linger, how dare you scheme against your own father? Chu Jiangwen, if you hadn't done anything wrong and had genuinely sought an endorsement, could you have been schemed against? Isn't it just that your scheme against me didn't work out, boss? I'm willing to be the spokesperson. I don't want any endorsement fee. A young girl jumped out. Black fame is still fame. Fine. Anyway, they're about to go bankrupt. You can endorse however you like. The contract only says endorsement. It doesn't specify how it must be done. There's no breach of contract. Do whatever gets you famous the fastest. Chu Jungwon kicked over my coffee table and tea set. But I wasn't angry. I was actually quite happy. The little girl started her endorsement the very next day. Heard that the business of that young billionaire, who nearly gave his wife with a heart condition a heart attack, is about to go bankrupt. Everyone, don't buy from them. There'll be no after-sales service in the future. This guy has terrible character, and the quality is also questionable. She successfully turned this long string of text into a trending topic. According to Secretary Chu Jiangwen, when he saw the little girl's endorsement method, he smashed dozens of cups again. All the backup ones were broken, and we didn't even get to have afternoon tea. Chu Jiangwen sold all the assets under his name, yet he still couldn't cover the massive deficit. The mistress and the illegitimate child have moved out to rent a place. The two of them went to Chu Jiangwen's office to make a scene, asking him what he was trying to stir up, and that if things continued like this, the whole family would end up begging for food. The secretary sent me a video of Chu Jiangwen and Junyang fighting, where they pushed and shoved each other until they both fell to the ground. When they got up, both Junyang and Chu Jiangwen had a different look in their eyes. Seeing Junyang's eyes, my heart skipped a beat. That was the look he gave me when I died in my previous life. No, everything is wrong, he shouted as he ran out of the office. Chu Jiangwen was stunned for a moment, then snapped back to reality, pushed aside the mistress, and also ran out of the office. I was sunbathing with my mom in the garden when I heard movement by the wall. Looking up, I saw Junyang climbing over the wall into the yard. He held a sharp kitchen knife in his hand. He jumped off the wall and lunged toward me and my mother. Before he could get close to us, the young nanny beside us kicked him away with a swift flying kick. The nanny I hired for my mother is a true expert. Considering Junyang's character in my past life, I had taken precautions. Junyang crawled to pick up the kitchen knife. The little nanny quickly kicked the kitchen knife away, and it stuck firmly into a tree. Chu Linger, it should be you whose reputation is ruined. Why, what did you do? Give me back everything, he roared weakly. My movie emperor, my everything. Another sound came from the courtyard wall. Chu Jiangwen had arrived, also climbing over the same wall. He ran toward the tree with the kitchen knife, pulled it out, and began walking toward Junyang. Junyang stared at him in terror. Old man, what are you going to do? Dad smiled. So you're back too, huh? At this moment, Junyang wouldn't call him an old bastard. In the previous life, after his wife and son died, he gave everything to the ungrateful wretch before him, only to be abused and called an old bastard. What a failure of a father I am, he said with a laugh, slapping the trembling Junyang with the knife. Do you remember what I said before I closed my eyes in the last life? If I ever got another chance, I'd kill you with My own hands, you beast, you killed my wife and child, stole my family fortune, and tormented me for decades. Now it's time to pay. Mom and I watched the two of them speechlessly. Chu Jianwen slapped Junyang hard with a knife, afraid of aggravating his wounds. Junyang didn't dare move a muscle. Finally, Chu Jianwen grew tired of slapping him and gave him a solid whack on the head before dragging him away. As he left, he told me, "My girl, I'll break his legs. Everything you suffered in your past life, I'll make him pay for it." Hearing this, my mother rushed over to Junyang. Even though he was unconscious, she stomped hard on his legs several times. I pulled my mother back. How could someone so gentle do such a thing? After the courtyard fell quiet, my mother asked me through tears, "In that previous life you mentioned, did I die very early? Otherwise, why would I be bullied? In this life, let's grow old together. I'll protect Mom, and Mom will